Hello, welcome everybody. It's Thursday. Good morning, August 22nd. And today looks like it's another green pre market day. And the QQQ is up 210 right now, pre market, up at 484.62. So essentially, just by looking at the daily chart here for the QQQ, we can see that it's approaching another resistance level, right? It's approaching the maybe 486 up above, maybe 487, 488, just in that zone. And also, when you look to the left of that zone, what do you see? You see um, a gap starting to form on the daily chart, right? So I'm going to just turn off that Ichimoku here, and you can see from this candle to this candle, there's a gap right here. So there's a potential that maybe it could run up a little bit to that 488 level and maybe not close that gap today, maybe wait a few more days to consolidate to possibly close that gap. But the higher price goes from 488 up to closing that gap into the 490s, then the more resistance there will be with the previous all-time highs right up here around the 500s, right? So, do I expect this to really break completely? Not really yet. And I think what's important is putting on that daily Fibonacci level right there. You can see that 486 zone is approaching also the 786. And then where that gap is being filled, if it did get filled, that would be the 886 Fibonacci level. Good morning, Jinvest. Yeah, that would be that Fibonacci level there. So this zone, in my opinion, is going to be a big kind of resistance zone for the QQQ. And do I expect it to just break through this 786 and the 886 zone? No, not really. I think it's going to maybe within the next days or weeks or however much time, it's probably going to get rejected the first time and then just come back down and consolidate a little bit. So we'll see what really happens, but essentially just want to prepare you guys that nothing goes up in a straight line, and it's eventually going to meet some of this resistance up here and possibly start to consolidate and back test levels below. So just get prepared for that. And in the meantime, things are still bullish. So just preparing you guys for what's to come. And the SPY, the SPY, same kind of situation, except it already is closing that gap pre-market right there. You can see the pre-market price is at say 562, and the gap is getting closed right there for the daily chart. So that is great. And where is that Fibonacci level right there? If we did the previous all-time high down to the low, it's already breaking through that 886. So possibly this is foreshadowing the QQQ that it wants to do the same thing. But essentially, it is also approaching that all-time high, previous all-time high. And that is going to be some resistance too at that one level, right? And that was at a 565.16, right? So that could be a top for there. But essentially, once this breaks, then I expect at least the 1.272 to come quickly after, which is around 580. And that should be some good times. But again, I don't expect it to break through this previous all time high right away. So we'll see if that will get rejected or not. So keeping an eye on that. Good morning, everybody. But yeah, when things keep approaching previous highs, it's important to look at the Fibonacci levels just to see where things stand. And going back to the QQQ, yeah, so there is some room to make up compared to the SPY. So essentially, it could break through that 786 rather quickly, but we'll see. Because the SPY, it kind of did, right? You can see it just broke right through. So if it's any kind of indication of what the QQQ wants to do, then I think the SPY is leading the way, and maybe the QQQ will follow. and And lastly is the Russell 2000 IWM. And essentially it already closed that gap as well. And it's working on building a base to go higher as well, right? And going back to the all-time high right up here, let's just pull up that fib for you guys just to see where things land. To the low here. And that's currently right in the middle of the 716 and the 71 fib. And essentially, you can see where it got rejected. What I mean by the 786, right? It got rejected at the 786 twice, once and twice, right? So that should bring enough room to go back up to that 220 or that 221 level that I've been talking about before. So that is a good thing. And this 618 held or has been holding for the past 3 days now. So that's a very good sign that things want to build a new base to continue higher up to the 220 level. So that's my expectation for the QQQ within the next days or weeks to get back up to the 220 and hopefully even back up to the 786. And the next time, they say third time is a charm, right? Once, twice, three times it could break above that 226 level. So we'll see. All right. Good morning, everybody. So I see some requests coming in here, and I see snow. Yes, we talked about snow yesterday, Genvest. So we're going to go look at snow right here. And Snowflake is essentially from that low here. We did have another low here, but technically, since the candle didn't close below that low, it closed above it. I'm still going to use this again here. And this is what a stock that keeps making lower lows looks like, really, right? Like it hasn't made a higher high in a long time since the top, right? It's been trending down for a long time. And essentially, it's not really that good. And it's kind of obvious where it got rejected, right? So look what price did this week, right? It went up back to this angle again. And sure enough, what happened after hours? It just tanked, right? So this is what it looks like when price flips a previous support to a confirmed resistance. It wants to go lower. And regardless of the earnings or the narrative or the news or whatever it is out there, the price action speaks before that news comes out, right? And this was telling us that it's at a resistance again to be cautious. And sure enough, it's now opening even below that blue angle right there. Yeah, snowflake falls from the sky. Yeah, it kind of does, right? But essentially, everything is now getting back to kind of a longer term support, right? So where price is now in pre-market 121.37, you can see going to the left of the chart, there is a low here. So that was a previous support level. And that's where it's testing right now in the morning. And then if you go even more to the left here, there is more support with this candle here, right? This is kind of a low support zone. And ultimately, the low down here is your ultimate support around 110. So I think if somebody wants to take a stab at this chart, even though when you look at the Ichimoku and you look at everything, it was trying to go above the conversion line yesterday, but now obviously it's back below. So buying these kind of charts, in my opinion, is just not what I like to do. I like to buy charts that have a more bullish formation, and this one does not, right? So, but that being said, it is in a support zone again from current price all the way down to maybe 110. So if somebody likes to like play more aggressively, then that is where you would probably want to enter a trade, I guess. But for me personally, I don't like these kind of charts. I think I like charts that hold their support and not constantly get rejected by angles. And you can even see with this angle right here, it was super important for a long time. And it was trying to battle it as support right here, and it just failed. And you can see that failure right there when it just got rejected here, and then that bearish engulfing down 12.5%, right now down to the next angle, and so on and so forth. So essentially, I think there's a long road ahead if it ever wants to turn bullish, but now there's even more resistance above, and it's going to start with even that blue angle now. And then every time it gets back up to here, it's probably going to get rejected too. So the upside, in my opinion, sure, it can go back up here and get another 10 point, 12 point, 15 point gain or whatever. But in my opinion, it's just more risky than needed, right? I prefer stocks that are holding their support, like Tesla, like Nvidia, like all those other ones that look like they want to continue higher. So that's my 2 cents on Snowflake. I think ultimately, I really think this 110 is probably going to get broken and just continue lower because that's the high time frame trend, right? The trend is your friend, and it looks like it just wants to continue lower and lower because they keep spending a lot of money. And I think their stock-based comp packages are insane, and it's like a lot of their revenue. So let's see what happens here. But I'm not really a fan. Good morning. Green or red open yesterday was pretty good. Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's a green open today, but like I said earlier on the stream, there is resistance above. So I don't expect anything to explode higher until like maybe the SPY makes new all-time highs. Then I think the rest of the indices will break above that too. So let's continue on here. And time to buy MSTR long ETF, MSTX. Let's take a look at MSTR first. All right, that one's not working. Let me delete that. I think I have one better here on log scale. Yeah, here's my MSTR log scale version. So essentially, it already went back and back tested the previous high back here in 2021, right, with this candle down here. So I think that's the ultimate base really for MSTR. So anywhere from current price down to like the low 100s, I think would be a great entry for MSTR, just simply because the high time frame is really, really bullish. But yeah, that is a big range, right? From 140 down to maybe like 110, 106 or so. Yeah, that is a big range. So is it really time? Well, we can just go turn to the weekly indicators here and really see it's not really ready to break out yet because it's still stuck under the 143 level right there. So what I essentially can see is just weeks to come that it maybe wants to consolidate down to sideways until it gets to the cloud. And then things like to backtest levels, right? And the cloud would be a support level to backtest, right? And then if you add on the 50-week moving average, you can see that over time it wants to catch up to price too. And that could meet maybe sometime in later September, right there around like the 120s, right? So I think that could be a possibility that just maybe price wants to drift sideways for a while. But there's really no rush. Everything really depends on Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is not breaking out yet, right? Bitcoin is still stuck under like that 62,000 level. So just got to keep watching Bitcoin in regards to MicroStrategy. And if that's the case, then MSTX is not really the play because MSTX is leveraged, right? And it's 1.75x. And that really means that if it stays flat, then the premiums and the fees that are applied to leverage long plays, they will make the ETF go lower over time, right? So really they're meant for explosive moves, the leverage plays, and I don't see an explosive move happening just yet for MSTX. Yeah, MSTX, so I can consider it. Well, I don't know if there's going to be a 2-week frenzy. That's the thing with MSTX. Just because you can see it's already been trending up, right? It is high, but you can see pre-market is going down a little bit. But like I said, the thing is if MicroStrategy is going to go sideways for a little bit, maybe even down, then MSTX will go down more, right? So just something you got to watch. And I think it all comes from Bitcoin. So it's got to break that resistance of Bitcoin here. Yeah, basically this is one GAN that I have, but essentially I wanted to just start closing candles kind of back above the 61.3 at minimum, and then maybe even the 62.5 up there to build back its momentum. And it's getting rejected all the time. So Yeah, just got to wait on Bitcoin. Can you please review shop? Yeah, let's look at shop here. So shop is pretty interesting. The weekly Ichimoku is now above the cloud, right? It's really looking nice there. And I'm going to take off the indicators just to show you the GAN pretty soon, but I want to show you that the 200 week moving average does sit at 79.63. So I think that could be the target, right? That'll probably be the target, and it'll be resistance once it gets there. So it has a little more room to run, but look at this ride that it had up, right? That's a pretty monster move over the past 3 weeks, right? So getting a little greedy there. If you want to wait till the 79, that's fine. But I think what's ultimately going to happen is there's going to be a back test of levels. And what's even possible, in my opinion, is I'm going to take off these indicators here. What I think is possible is probably maybe goes up to the 79 or the $80 level. Then it might roll over and back test the ARC as a support down in the low 70s. That's what I think will probably happen for Shopify. Simply because when you look to the left, you can see how important this arc is. Look at that as a resistance here. It was a resistance here. It was a support here, right? You get the gist of this arc right here. So what I'm seeing now is a potential breakout with a possible successful backtest in the future sometime, right? So don't get greedy. Look at the explosive move. It's still not really making higher highs from here, from the 90s. And with that 200 week moving average around 80 getting in the way, I don't think it's ready to break that yet. But ultimately, yes, I think it's going to go back to this level up here around 100, which is really important as well. Look to the left. Lots of support here, right? So essentially, it'll get there, but I think it might want to backtest a level first before it gets there. Let's see here. Lucid, huh? Going from a good chart to I don't know chart, huh? So you can't really do any kind of GAN on this one because it's a falling knife, right? It's basically making lower lows all the time. Sure, recently it's looking like it's finding a floor, right? You can see these candles are all trying to find a base around here. So does it have some life left in it? Let's see. Well, yeah, the weekly chart, it's got some life in it, right? It's got a little life, and all the hope is riding on staying above these indicators right here, the 130 or the 340 and the 331 right there. Stay above that, then there's a possibility to break into the cloud. But guess what? The cloud is going to be resistance up above. That is going to probably be maybe anywhere from $4 all the way down to maybe around current price, right? So we'll see. The chart, even though from the bottoms, 240 right here up to 350, that's a nice percentage gain, right? But this chart is not bullish, right? I see multiple rejections in its future, and I think that the cloud will be the first one. And then when we put on the SMAs for the weekly chart, you can see what it's at right now. It's at the 50-week moving average right now. So maybe it won't even get to the cloud, right? You could see that it tried last time, but it was just a fake out and back below. So what I'm thinking now is probably since the 50-week is still sloping down, I still think that that's going to get rejected when the weekly candle closes on Friday. So it could come up above today and maybe tomorrow, but possibly could even close back below that. But even if it closes above, you saw what happened before. The following week after that just tanked and went below, right? 17%. So a similar situation could happen that it could close above and then go below. So again, these kind of charts I try to stay away from because they are not really bullish yet. They're still in a downtrend, even though it's still trying to find a base. But if it does what PayPal did, basically break above the cloud and then continue, then I'll be more bullish, right? But until that happens, I'm very cautious. All right, being SMH. I see that as a request here. SMH, SMH. So here we go. Weekly chart, SMH, looking really, really good for the Ichimoku, right? If you don't use the GAN above and just the Ichimoku, it's really good. And it held that 50-week average as support, and now it's still back above there. So I think it has room to go higher, right? I really do. But let me just take that off for you guys, just so you can see everything more clearly. And essentially, what's happening is there's probably going to be some resistance here, maybe at 255, 256, and then even more resistance around 263. So again, I'm not going to be super bullish on SMH for until it breaks this resistance, right? Until it flips this 263, 264 level as a support, and then wants to continue higher. So that's my target for that. But I think this 45-degree angle is a perfect support level, and over time it'll probably remain that way. And it already back tested the bottom arc there. So no need to go any really lower than that. And I think the trend is going to be higher still because it's making a series of higher highs and higher lows. And eventually this 263 will get broken. Let's look at INTC. So I showed this before, right? And this is what's important. A previous support, bearish engulfing below that support. Now it's going to flip to resistance. So can it go higher? Yeah, of course it can. And it probably will go higher. But I think when it gets back to the 24s or 25s, I think that'll be a big major resistance level for Intel. And I think it would just roll over to try and find a new higher low. So I don't really need any indicators on this. I know I don't like it. I know that it has potential, but I don't really care. I like charts that make higher highs and higher lows. I don't like charts that break a long-term support and flip it to a resistance, right? So any chance of back to 24, 25, that would be an opportunity to take profits if somebody bought down here. Yeah. I mean, maybe it can get back to 127, but the chart doesn't look that great. PYTH. Yeah, let's look at that crypto for you guys. Okay. So here we go now. Let's see. Python Jupe. Yeah, let's see here. This one's at 30 cents. Let's just take a quick look at the Ichimoku. All right, yeah, it's still in a downtrend, right? Still below the conversion. Not going to be happy until it gets above that 31.2. And Jupe is right there. Same thing, right? Can't really get excited about it until it's above 92. So that's what we're looking at for those. Just a quick glance at the Ichimoku indicators. So it's still kind of trending down under a base. Oh, and I see Chevio. Thanks for the super chat. And can you please do a chart on COREUM and Sologenic? Yeah. Let's look at Core. So, yeah. COREUM. There we go. So COREUM, kind of the same situation, but even without the Ichimoku, I'm looking at this area right here, the previous support, right? And you look right here, this is your previous support, and it was broken, and it came back up and back tested that support to confirm it as a resistance, right? So this is what I'm talking about, losing long-term supports, because it's difficult to break back above. So essentially, can't really get excited until it goes back above this support and flips it back to a support. So currently it's still resistance, and that level really sits maybe around 7 cents, maybe 0.734, around there. And essentially what's really going to happen is you just got to be patient and see if this can flip. But if it keeps being resistance, then it's going to trend lower. So just got to watch that. Watch more rejections off of that. And Sologenic. Yeah, Sologenic, kind of, it's battling that 10-cent zone, but can't really get too excited until maybe it closes back the week above. So it's been battling it, right? Up and down, up and down, up and down. So really watch that 10 cents for a Sunday night weekly candle close. If it closes above, then it has a possibility to get to the 13 cents up here. But still, the cloud is way up here. It's still stuck under a lot of resistance. It's just going to take some time. But the first step is getting back above 10 cents for the week, and then it has a chance for 13, and then a chance for 15, and so on and so forth, right? All right. And I see XRP as well in that mix. Yeah, again, I think I mentioned this earlier. The only thing I'm really watching is this 200-week moving average. That's all I'm watching. The purple line here. That's at 64.83. I want a weekly candle close above it, right? And you can see so many wicks above for the past month and a half, really, right? A wick above, wick above, wick above, wick above. Even this week it went above, right? But it can't close a candle above. So essentially, got to get that weekly candle close above for price to continue higher. So got to watch that, right? That's the only thing I'm looking at. That's it. Oh, let's see. I see a lot of requests in. Yeah, not sure if I can cover them all. Like, if you guys really, since there's a lot, you guys can start sending super chats if you want. Then I'll take precedent for those, priority. Let's see. The hard way when TSSL 15x to 25x. Okay. Let's see. I see another one here coming down for Tesla, Palantir, Enphase, HEMS. There's a lot there. But I'm going to actually just pull up the Enphase chart for you guys. Let's see here. So I mentioned this on my Patreon that I really want levels to continue higher, right? And all I'm really watching for in phase here, this is my log scale version now. I showed the linear scale before, but this level, I want to see it back to support. Really back to support. And it was a support there. You can see in January 2022 was a support there. Then it kind of broke that support, and then it's been battling it for almost a year, right? Almost a year battling. So I think it's almost time to break this support. 118. That's the line in the sand. I want all these weekly candles to continue above them for now on. And once that builds a base, I think it's ready to go much higher, much higher. And that's what I'm really looking at for in phase right there. And the market is open now. So let's take a look at the market open. Let's see. ARC is down 7. Palantir is flat, right? We can look at Palantir chart real quick. Still looking at that level. Wanted to close the week maybe above 33. Let's see if it can get there and maintain this angle as a support. So that's what I'm really looking out for Palantir. Yeah, SMCI is doing well. Crowd is up still. AMD is up in phase. And Tesla is going red, but that's not really a surprise because there's lots of resistance above. One thing for Tesla that I really want to point out is on the monthly chart. People aren't paying attention to this 50-month moving average right there. It's going to be some resistance, guys. It's going to be resistance. So even if it does get into the 230s, it could get rejected up there. So I'm really just watching that 50-month level right now. And I want it to stay above that 221 level that I mentioned before. So that's the range it's going to probably be stuck in. We'll see how today closes, and we'll see what the Friday close brings. Let's see here. We'll look at EOS. Let's see how that's doing in the morning. Yeah, I think that's got some room to go, right? So it's flipping the 100 to a support, and now it's going up towards my orange level there. And that orange level will probably be some resistance, especially when you look to the left of the chart. You can see it was a resistance right here, was a resistance right here, right? So essentially, I think that's the target, maybe like 290. And I think that's where it's probably headed before any kind of major rejection. Okay, let's go take a look at WULF. So WULF is right there at the 45-degree angle, right? So essentially, I'm just looking at that on linear scale because it was a previous resistance, and now it's flipping it back to a support. So essentially, 460, 458, that zone right there. Looking at continuing closing candle of that on a weekly basis, not really a daily basis. So still looking fine, right? Nothing to worry about with that. And just everything really depends also on Bitcoin too. If that stays kind of flat, then these charts might stay a little bit flat as well. How do I see the end phase energy fundamentals? I don't really care about fundamentals. I just look at the charts because I think the fundamentals follow the charts. I think earnings follow the price action of charts. That's why analysts always revise earnings or revise their estimates after the chart has already moved a lot, right? Either down or up. They always revise, right? They never do it before. So I always look at the price action first. Don't care about the fundamentals because they follow price action. Let's see here. Are you able to see super chats? Yeah, I saw it. That's why I did it. Thank you. I would love to see a combination chart of Rollison bonus pay. Let's see here. Wolf, Doge. Yeah, let's take a look at Doge real quick just to see here. And yeah, Doge is kind of doing its thing, right? That's my 45-degree angle. It's basically been holding it as support, so that is the line in the sand for Doge. So essentially around like the low 10s, right? Low 10-cent zone. Wanted to hold that just to build a base to continue higher. So that looks pretty good. And let's see. I see Alchemy has onboarded nearly 2,000 publishers, right? So yeah, ADS is doing pretty well, right? Just using this linear scale chart here, you can see that it's at a resistance level. That blue angle was a support, flipped it to resistance, so it's got a ways to go before it breaks back above. So we'll see if it can do it, but it's at a big resistance level right there, up in the 14-cent zone. And posting, is log scale more accurate? I would say a combination of everything is what I use, right? But for the big exponential movers, like a lot of crypto, a lot of maybe crypto mining or like Tesla or Nvidia, they're pretty exponential, right? So yeah, I like to use the more exponential charts like that on log scale just to see how they perform. Where do you see COREUM and Sologenic topping out this cycle? Well, I don't think they're following XRP. because XRP is above a lot of resistance. It just has the 200 week for uh, resistance, really, and then the top of the cloud. And COREUM and Sologenic are not really bullish charts, right? So COREUM, we'll go back to that chart here. Right, this chart is not bullish, right? You can see that it's below everything. And it's even getting below this previous support level right here. So if I just drew a line right here, it's basically battling that line now because this was a previous support. And now it's looking like it's a challenge into resistance. So these are not following XRP at all. They are a little bit lagging. And where do I see a top? Well, I can't determine that because they're still battling resistance, right? And especially a previous support is turning into a resistance. So will it have a top cycle? I don't even know, right? We'll see, because you just need to make higher highs and higher lows, and this chart is not doing that, right? So they are not following XRP at all. They are essentially underperforming the market, and they're making lower lows, right? So this is something you got to watch out for. But I think for Sologenic here, you can see that. Let me go zoom in here. You can see that at least it hasn't made a lower low, and it is trying to find a base, right? So this one has a better chance right now because it's actually above certain things, but still like a lot of resistance above. So I can't really see how high things are going until they flip all this resistance to support, because it's just a guess, right? Because it has so much to get rejected. So anybody that has price targets for charts that look like these, I think they're just pulling hopium, because honestly, they are still stuck, right? They're really stuck. And if it ever gets on top of the Ichimoku cloud, then we can start discussing price targets, because then it's getting a more bullish chart. Let's see. Let's see. TGTX. Yeah, so TGTX, yeah, so this is an example of something that's getting more bullish, right? So essentially it's breaking out of the cloud, and it was resistance. So I would be cautious, because it could come back down and test the top of the cloud around 2108. And if that's the case, then possibly it can continue higher. But as you can see from the previous resistance up here, the higher it goes, the more resistance it's going to get into. So I see some of this in the 30s is going to be some resistance up above, but that's a ways away still, right? But just note that prices love to backtest previous breakout, like a breakout backtest of a level. So a previous resistance could flip it to support. So anytime it goes back to 21, I think could be an opportunity. Let's see here. Yeah, so I just did TGTX. TEM. Let's look at that. Yeah, so Tempus AI. So this one's really young, right? Maybe on the daily chart, you can see, yeah. So it just keeps going, but you can see that it's kind of battling a zone, right? You can see this long wick up here, and price is still within that range, right? So I think it's kind of reaching a temporary resistance level right there. So the true support of this thing does sit around the high 50s down here. So I would be cautious with this one for sure. Thank you, Genvest, for the super chat. Hippo character runs at high speed. His leg is forming a ball-like blur. All right. And let's look at some more crypto I see there. DOT and FET. Let's see. DOT. All you really need to see is this daily chart for DOT. It's stuck right in between 448 and 473. And once it gets above this baseline here and flips it to a support on a day-to-day basis, then I think it has a chance to go higher. But essentially, this is all you need to see right now. You got your support down here, your resistance up here. Let's see if it can break. And then we can switch to the weekly chart and say, okay, then it's ready to go to the $5 range way up here, right? But it's still underperforming the market, right? It's still making a higher low from here, so that's good. But it's still stuck under a lot of resistance above. So just got to watch that. Let's see here. Fetch AI. This one is, I like this one better on log scale. So let's look at Fetch on log scale. Okay. Fetch is breaking back above this blue level here, right? And that is important simply because you can see it was a previous all-time high back here in 2021, right? And it got rejected there once, twice, 3 times. And then that's been a very important level for a long time. And then it broke above. And originally I thought it was just going to be a successful backtest of it, but I wanted to go a little bit lower and retest the 100-week moving average right there, that blue line. And now it's going back above, right? So I think that's the level I'm really wanting for a weekly candle close, 97 cents for Fetch AI. And that is really, really, really important. And once that starts to build a base on top of that, then it'll get above the 50-week up here and the arc, and then flip that to a support, and then it'll be continuing higher. But I mentioned this to the Patreon people that this wants to continue to go higher. And right when I was down in the 80s, and sure enough, it went up to the 97 mark, and now it's trying to flip that to a support. So we'll keep an eye on that 97 cent area. And let's see here. Let's take a look at the market still since they're open. Yeah, so the Dow's up 95, the SPY is up 2, QQQ 182, IWM is green too, just a little bit, SMH 71. And yeah, everything else is kind of like flat. Palantir is going towards that 33 mark that I've been talking about, so that's a good thing, right? Good thing for Palantir. It's got to keep it up. ENPH is still doing what it's doing. It's fine. Let's see. Microsoft is green. Tesla's down. That's fine. Everything's doing what it should be doing, right? Completely. All the miners are kind of flat. Yeah. PayPal is green still. Yeah. Let's see. NNE. Nanonuclear. So Ichimoku, yeah, okay. Just using these alone, it's stuck in a range on the daily chart, and that is 1003 all the way up to maybe 1485 or 1592 up there, right? So that's the range. And essentially, ever since it broke below here, it's been like under resistance, right? So this is the big resistance zone here, maybe from like the 14s all the way up to the 15s, right? So just going to watch that as resistance, but it looks like it wants to go higher because it has found a floor here around $10. So I think the opportunity is to continue to the 14s. That's what I see right now. Isn't FET a part of ASI now? Yeah, I think so, but I don't know if it's really charted as that yet, right? Just because it's still FET. It's still trading under that ticker symbol, so I don't think they changed it yet, right? And Brian Hood, let's see Hood. So here's my log scale chart for Hood, and the first thing that stands out is it's breaking back above the 100-day moving average. So this is a good thing, right? And then you got some resistance above in the 20s, 2057, and then more up here in the 21. So it's working its way getting back into the cloud. And the first step is right here, keeping above that $20 level. And if it can maintain daily closes above $20, then I think eventually it'll get back into the cloud and battle the resistance above. So it's going in the right direction, one level at a time. Yeah. Okay. HBAR and VET. I see that. So HBAR, my log scale chart, it's starting to build a base on top of the conversion line on the daily chart. So we'll go to the weekly chart just to see where things lie. And that really means I think price wants to continue up to the 6 cents range right there and challenge my arc right there. And VChain. Let's look at VChain here. Yeah, still stuck. Resistance, 2.5 cents, and then more resistance at 0.027. So at least it's building a base right here. That's fine, but it's got to break through for me to get excited about it. And yeah, we saw PayPal a little bit. I've been talking about PayPal a lot, right? And yeah, so it broke above the 100 and it's approaching the top of my GAN arc. So as we know, it's back above this orange level. Perfect. It's approaching resistance. And when you look right here around $74, $75, you look to the left, what do you see? More resistance right here, more resistance right here. So it's approaching resistance. So don't get too excited. The time to get excited was when it started to break out, right? And what I really think is possible is get rejected, maybe find a new low somewhere, then continue higher and break through this arc eventually. But this chart is perfectly getting bullish again, right? That's the good thing about this, right? And there's lots of room to grow, in the future, but don't get too excited because let's just draw a line. Let's just draw a line. I love drawing these lines just so people can see current price, right? Look at that. Previous support, support, right? It was a big support. Then this bearish engulfing flipped it to a resistance. And ever since July of 2023, over a year, it's been resistance, right? So don't expect this huge resistance level to get broken so easily, right? Don't expect it. So if it can go wick above, maybe get to the 75, but I think it's just being greedy at this point. Maybe let it come back down. That's all. All right, one last look. Yeah, so everything's relatively kind of flat. The Dow is now negative, right? So like I said in the very beginning of my show, if you guys missed it, you can go rewatch it, that everything is really approaching a resistance zone. So things just need to cool off a little bit, I think. But those are the levels I'm really looking at. And Tesla's about flat too. Everything's kind of about flat. So it could be kind of a boring day since things are going towards resistance. But once things break that resistance, especially with the indices, then I think things can get a lot more excited. But you just got to have patience. So